S3 Verge. Joe, set the way back to 1995.
Oh, God. the Matrox Millennium, brought to you by the Matrox Millennium.
Dual head.
Dual head.
And the Gravis Ultrasound Max.
Yes. Yes.
That MIDI.
Oh, man. You have no idea. Welcome, everyone. Oh, hi. Also welcome, Jim, your co-host. Oh, I said that. We're without Hunter tonight for some reason. I'm not sure why. He couldn't join us. So
he knew I was coming.
He's got a terrible case of Eve.
Oh, I bet you that's it. That son of a bitch.
He's making a billion-esque right now.
Yep, spreadsheets on the brain.
Well, we do have a guest, though. We were going to do this show a little while back, but apparently the internet in Canada died that night. So we're welcoming back the host of the Upper Memory Block podcast, Joe Mastriani. Welcome back, Joe.
Thank you. I'm becoming a regular, it seems.
I would not mind that. You know, you're always a good time. Always a good time when you're around. Always.
We should play the national anthem of whatever country people are on the show from, right?
That'd be cool.
Like we just get some Canada. They say it's not so bad. How do the words go? I don't know.
I could probably do that. Hang on. Because I'm folks. I'm doing
but
a
it
new
has to
audio
be
thing here.
Celine Dion singing it because.
Standing.
Okay. Olsen.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Has to
just so I don't get in trouble, I was standing with my hand over my heart.
Good job. So you guys heard that. Okay.
I also noticed that Joe picked up the accent there too. Like all it took a little bit of that national anthem, and then his brain like flipped over into Canuck.
So, folks, I'm excited right now because it took me hours of watching videos and reading manuals, but I'm using a program called Voicemeeter Banana.
Take a screenshot of your settings, sir, so that you never forget.
No, you can export them to an XML file now. Did you know that? You can save them as an XML file. So
you should still take a screenshot so you can show the world.
You should take a screenshot of the XML file.
Yes. So no kidding. One time, because I used to work at a little mom and pop ISP, somebody like wrote out the document that they wanted. Right, they did the web page and they printed it out, and then they scanned it, and then they put it on their website as a giant JPEG.
Wow.
Because aces. All right.
Anyway,
just made me think of that.
So yeah, I'm really excited because I spent so much time tweaking the audio settings that hopefully no longer will it be like, oh, Brian, I can hear him, but I can't hear the guests. I found this tiny little setting in Windows that was like when you're using a communication program, it'll lower the Windows will lower the volume. I don't want that.
That's super annoying.
I really don't want that. So I unchecked that. You know what?
It's essentially the devil.
I'll be damned if I could find that again. So I hope I can figure out how to find it because I can't remember where the fuck that is. But yeah, so the reason I wanted to get Voicemeeter Banana working, my friends, is one, better audio, better control over the audio. Two, I can record from anything now. So if we do decide to switch to Discord, which who knows, we might, I could probably record from that too. So hey,
banana
options.
Control is very important.
Yeah, gotta control that
times.
banana. Gotta control that banana.
Maintain control of the banana. 2 hands on the banana.
Banana control for scale.
10 and 2. How the hell did the banana for scale BS start anyway?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Is that a thing?
It's Reddit. Like,
is
who
that
knows?
a thing? Does
yeah, it's a
anyone know?
thing. Well, it's a Reddit thing, so it only exists there.
Does anyone know why this is called Voicemeeter Banana? Because there was an original Voicemeeter program, but then this is the new one, and they're calling it
Voicemeter Pickle, but I don't know.
I don't know why not. I mean, what's banana? Why banana? Anyway, folks,
bananas are funny inherently, just like pickles.
The reason I wanted to get Voicemeeter Banana working, and I'm glad I had the extra time to do that. So, Joe, in a way, I want to thank you for having internet issues. The reason I wanted to get Voicemeeter Banana working is because then I could play for you some of the old hardware I have purchased recently because of Mr. Mastriani here, which we'll talk about. It is his fault. I am blaming him completely for the money.
It's all part of my master plan.
Yeah, you were hounding me left and right. Like, did you get it? Did you get it? How about now? How about now? Now? How about now? No. So tonight, folks, we are here to talk about classic PC, computer, whatever, not console stuff. Because, I mean, that's dedicated shit. And I don't cover console stuff because I don't have time. Though, folks, if you do want to support me on Patreon enough that I will get this capture thingy so I can capture my Genesis and my Wii and my Dreamcast and stuff, then I'll play console games for y'all. Just saying. It is a goal of the Patreon campaign. Patreon.
Capture your Wii in a mason jar.
But
like Howard Hughes.
the one thing I love about running Space Game Junkie is having to deal with old games. It's kind of, Joe, and first off, Joe, you run the Upper Memory Block podcast.
Correct.
Which is awesome. Joe, tell people, if they don't know, what the Memory Block podcast is.
It is a podcast where I talk about, I guess I like to call them games from the DOS and pre-Windows XP gaming era. So basically PC games from sort of, the early 80s up until about the year 2000. It's kind of a weird, it's a weird block of time, but that's kind of the time that I was at kind of my peak gaming. So
you should have called it Boot Floppy Podcast.
There you go.
The Boot Floppy. Where you could just do like a guide on how to make a boot floppy so that you can get, Ultima 7 Serpenile working, because I never could. I bought that thing and I never got to play it until Good Old Games put it out.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about frustration.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what Brian was getting at, is that, I know for me, and I talk about this kind of very early on in the beta episode of the Upper Memory Block, is that, I work in, I'm a web guy now, cloud computing, programmery, whatever. And
we need to talk about that.
Oh, yes. And I totally attribute that to, having to figure out how to get games working on, my 286, my 386, my 486, because you had to know how a computer worked. You had to know what memory was and what the different spaces were and what IRQs were and what DMAs were. And
what
you have some dusty beige.
AutoExec bat and config sys. You do have a dedicated computer. You do have a dedicated legacy gaming computer, though, don't you?
I do actually, yeah.
I hate you so much. I'm so jealous.
Let's talk about what hardware is in the beige box. It is beige, right?
It's beige.
Of course
yes,
it's
absolutely.
Because it was like the Model T. It's like you can get this in any color as long as it's beige.
As long as it's black. As long as it's beige. Okay, so what do you got in your legacy computer?
So mine's not that old. It's actually a Pentium 2. Well, it is in a beige box.
That was late 90s. I had a Pentium 2 in around 98.
Yeah, so it's a P2. It still has ISA slots. There's PCI slots and ISA slots in there.
Nice. Now, are you running God's own operating system, Windows 98 SE?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Excellent.
There's no other.
That's the
I was talking about that in the car on the way home. It was just like Windows 98 SE was probably the finest product Microsoft ever made.
Was the shit. It still is. I want to build a legacy gaming computer myself, and that will definitely be the operating system of choice.
I was actually pretty
lucky. Yeah, I was pretty lucky on it because one of the QA guys at work had basically the bulk of the machine just sitting around, and then I sort of added, I added like a Riva TNT2 and stuff like that to it. But really, like the motherboard was there, the RAM was there, the CPU was there.
I've already got mine planned. I recently bought 2 Voodoo 2 cards with SLI cables.
Sweet.
Yeah. You got to go Voodoo 2. And I'm looking for a Screamin' 3D for 2D and Rendition 3D. Got to get that 95, 98 compatibility going. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Yeah, those are hard to find, those Screamin' 3Ds. I don't even know if they exist anymore. We'll talk about that card. I don't know if you all remember that card, but that was one of the first 3D cards. Rendition 1.0. Yeah, no, I have an eBay alert for that card. believe you me. So, folks, yeah, after Joe has a great podcast about playing older games. You do revisit newer games, like you just did a podcast on the new Doom, which is
So I do newer games that are relevant to our interests as classic gamers.
Exactly.
How often do you drop one of these, and is it on the regular schedule, or is it just when it happens?
No, it's just sort of when it happens. Like I did, unfortunately, SimCity 5 or whatever that came out a couple of years back. New XCOM when the first one came out. Doom, just kind of stuff like that. So whenever something notable sort of comes out, I might cover that Abduction game by the Myst guys because it's not really a sequel, but sort of a sequel to Myst.
Oh, cool. Have you ever listened to the Retroist podcast?
I probably have. I can't remember. So
Okay,
I know I've
covers,
definitely heard of it.
Yeah, he covers just pop culture things from the 80s and 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, it's like he might deep dive into, like, He-Man action figures one week and then talk about Chuck E. Cheese and, Pizza Time Theater or something, the next week. But he covers a lot of video game ground, too, and he's probably as big a fan of Tron as I am. But it's a super cool guy. He used to live here in town, and I do not actually know his name, which is because he keeps it, like, really, like
on the DL.
Anonymous, right? Yeah. But he was talking to me about he worked at Westwood back in the days when Command and Conquer, like 1 and 2 was a thing. So he's like a veteran, definitely of the industry, and so he's got a thing for his video games as well. But yeah, he moved out to Seattle, I think, now, just doing some web work. He's a web dude, much like yourself, actually, 9 to 5. And then they have a partner podcast with that, which is Vic Sage, who works at, I forget what retro arcade that he owns. And he just talks about, it's called Diary of an Arcade Employee Podcast. And he just talks about, like, old video games and the arcade running business and stuff. So really cool. Other retro-y things.
Oh yeah, I love it. The more the merrier. I always say. People are like, "Oh, people are doing a podcast like yours." And I'm like, "So that's great."
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the great
It
things
validates
about
doing it, right?
It validates all the shit we went through.
It's worth doing twice.
So someone starts something called the Spaceship Aficionado Podcast Game Guy.
There's a lot less space. There's a lot less room in this in this space for.
I thought I was in a niche. You're in a nichier niche.
I'm in a super
but we thought this was going to be just a dusty museum to days gone by, and then suddenly it's like, oh, the genre is awake again. Here it comes. It's like, wow, the flood.
Yeah, we've gotten so inundated with guests, which is great. But I the other day I was like, you know what? I miss doing a classic game review retrospective every now and again. So I think we're going to go back to doing that maybe once a month. We look at an older game and talk about it, because I miss doing that. And the 3 Moves Ahead guys, they just did Dark Rain, which is like, oh yeah. I love Dark Rain.
That one's on my list
they
too.
didn't.
Huh?
They highly underrated Dark Rain. It's
I
like
agree.
the one guy was trying
agree.
to be like a little apologetic for it, right? But everybody, is like Troy especially was like super down on it. He's just like, yeah, this game's ugly as hell, and it's not.
They
fun
didn't even talk about the AI and how each unit had its own little AI thing you could set and everything. And that was a great freaking game. But I'm an RTS nut, so maybe I'm a little biased. Maybe. But yeah, I think every now and again we should revisit a classic game on here as well. Because remember we did the Independence War 2 show and we did the Dark Star 1 show, and those are fun. So I'd like to do more of those. So I think every so often we'll do more of those. But we all love classic games here. We all love retro gaming. And Joe, the other back, I think when you were doing Day of the Tentacle, your Day of the Tentacle show.
Yeah, it was around then, wasn't it?
Yeah. You made a video of you running the game on your MT32.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw this and I heard the music and I'm like, this is the greatest thing. This is so amazing. So I looked up there's a nice article on Wikipedia that lists all the PC games that support the MT32. And I'm like, oh, I must own one of these.
There's a lot more than you think, and it is interesting because
Dozens and dozens, yeah.
and it just seems odd because this was like the MT32 was like the Ferrari of like sound devices. Like it was not cheap back in the day. It's still not even necessarily super cheap right now.
It was $400 or $500 if you bought it directly through Sierra, which you could, if I recall.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was not cheap. It was a luxury item. It was definitely a luxury item. And yeah, they're still not cheap. They're not super expensive now. I got mine for about 80, I think.
Yeah, I think I got mine for like just over 100 Canadian, so that makes sense.
Yeah. But after you did that, I was like, I need to get one of these. And so I got it, and I was playing with it once you thankfully helped me get it to work. And then I played TIE Fighter with it, and it's like, this sounds weird. You know, why does TIE Fighter sound so weird on this thing? It's like, oh, because it wants a general MIDI module.
It's too new.
I guess I need one of those now. So after doing a bunch of research on Vogons and shit, it's like, okay, I'm going to get another Roland, an SC55 Mark II, which apparently you also have.
Yes, I do. I'm staring at both of them. They're sitting. It's actually, I have this my desk set up is sort of, I have my main desk where like my computer is and everything. And then I have an older, smaller desk that's kind of coming out the other way and like the printer's on there. But that old desk actually has a keyboard tray underneath, and the MT32 and the SC55 next to each other fit perfectly on that keyboard tray. And the desk is glass, so they're like under glass.
Oh, that is awesome.
It's amazing.
So how do they attach to the computer? Clearly not USB because that predates.
Well, yes, actually.
Really?
Indirectly.
Oh.
Yeah, it's called.
So you have a USB RS-232 interface or something?
Yeah, pretty much. So I have a Roland UM1, which is basically a USB MIDI interface. So you plug that into your USB port, and then you plug the RS-232. I think it's RS-232, the MIDI cable, or maybe it's not. Anyways, whatever the MIDI cable is.
Is it round or is it?
Yeah, it is round. So I think it is. It is RS.
Straight MIDI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the RS-232 wasn't that the old big keyboard
it was like
connector?
Yeah. It's
Remember
like
the
a big
printer
keyboard.
cables?
It's like it's a big 5-6 prong in a circle, circular thing.
Yeah, no, that's
like that.
that's a MIDI connection.
Yeah,
And
so it's a straight MIDI connection.
RS-232. Remember old printer? You know, that giant connector that printers.
Oh, the big.
had?
So it wasn't round.
Right.
That was the one
that's
that had like the little.
RS-232.
It was kind of like a little cardy thing that's spat out of the middle.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, it was pins. It was like an Atari joystick thing, but instead of 9 pins, it was like 32.
Right. Yeah. No, I remember that. And I had the big clips on either side.
It was very much like the joystick port on some sound cards, which I think also could be a MIDI in. I would guess that's why it's there. And then the game makers were just like, hey, we can hook a joystick up to that. Or
yeah,
something.
I think that was the intention because they were always on sound cards. But yeah, this is just that straight up round MIDI cable, MIDI connection.
Exactly. And
I haven't had a dedicated sound card in a machine for.
I still have one. I have
time.
I have a Sound Blaster X-Fi card that I've had for 10 years. Still.
Yeah, I had one,
running
but I
great.
just got it out of the box last time I rebuilt it because it was just like, this is serving no purpose because the on motherboard sound was as good as anything, and then I've got a USB headset.
I like having a dedicated card. I don't know why. I enjoy it. But yeah, the fun thing was when I got the SC55, you got to get another MIDI cable and set it all up just right, because then they both kind of work at the same time.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple of ways to go about that. The most straightforward way is you could have gotten another one of those USB MIDI cables, but then there's like confusion because Windows, especially Windows 8 and up, or actually so Windows 10 really doesn't support it at all, where like back in the day, you could like go into Windows and set up your MIDI mapper and choose your MIDI device and all this stuff. And in Windows 7, I think they started getting rid of it. And there was this little app that you could download that was basically like a little control panel applet that some guy hacked together because the MIDI interface setup was actually still in there. It just wasn't exposed anymore. And then in Windows 8, it just totally went away.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I don't know. Like when Microsoft is like, meh, we don't want to support this crap anymore. So for people like us, it makes life a little more difficult.
So whenever you had like the normal sound card in the box, plus this thing hooked up to MIDI, and maybe the other thing, so you had like a daisy chain of 3 things that were hooked up. So how did you keep the interrupts, and what were the things that mattered? You had the IRQ and the DMA, right?
Yeah.
How'd you
IRQ7,
keep-
DMA1.
Yeah, how'd you keep that stuff from stepping on each other? So you'd have one on 7, one on 5.
Yeah, and basically it was just that. It was a juggling act, right? If you had too many devices installed, you sort of had to pick and choose, right?
Yeah, because I had to disable my internal modem to get my sound card to work at one point, because it was like they both insisted they were going to be 7, and I could not get the modem to go over to anything but, and it was just like, oh geez. And then I get reminded of that anytime I set up old games from good old games that are using DOSBox, because then it's just like, oh yeah, set up your card, 751. It's like, oh god, I remember this stuff. But
Yeah,
I think that's why everybody holds Windows 8 SE in such high regard, because I think it was the first Windows that actually kind of got you out of IRQ hell, because it actually could assign devices, yeah. And then XP perfected that, and it was widely loved by everybody.
So let's go back a little bit before we dive into some specific pieces of hardware that people have asked us to talk about. Joe, we'll start with you. What was your actual first computer?
My actual first computer, I guess, would be an Apple II, but not a real Apple II. It was like one of those fake ass like clones that Steve
Franklin.
Jobs outlawed when he came back to Apple.
You had a Franklin, son.
Oh yeah, it was.
That's what it was, Franklin Ace.
Yeah, and I actually I don't have a lot of memories from when I was like, because this must have been when I was like 5 or 6 or something.
Was it black?
It was like it wasn't beige. It was like brown, and it was like light brown case with a dark brown keyboard.
Oh, okay. Because there was black Franklins, and then there was like a chocolate brown one.
Yeah, it must have been. I don't even know if it was. I can't even remember what it was. I don't even know if it was a Franklin. It was something. And yeah, my dad brought it home, and he was like my dad was a programmer back in the day. He used to work for airlines, and he built like fuel management systems and stuff in like DBase 3 and whatever. And yeah, he brought this thing home ostensibly to do work and make money and whatever. But there were games on it like Lode Runner and Troll's Tale, which I didn't realize until very recently was a Sierra game, and a bunch of stuff like that. So that was where I kind of got my start. We had a Zenith monochrome, green and black monitor, and it was awesome. 2 disk drives. That was crazy town.
Oh yeah, because then sometimes you didn't have to actually flip the disc over, like if you're playing Wasteland.
Or Starflight. You didn't have to swap that shit. Jim, what about you?
What?
What was your first computer?
What was the original? Oh, the first computer. Texas Instruments TI-99 4A with the speech synthesizer, which was awesome because I could play Parsec and it would talk to me.
And that wasn't a calculator, people. That's actually a computer.
That's right. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. I had that. Buddy of mine had a Commodore 128, and I later my next machine after the TI, I got an Atari 800. That led me to a Commodore 64 when I was in the Army, because there was actually software for that. It was like, man, if you had an Atari, good luck trying to buy any games or anything for that thing, because it was.
You had to type them in out of the magazine.
Yeah, freaking family computing. Like, you bust your ass for 2 days, and then you find out, oh, it's a jack-o'-lantern that winks at me.
Awful.
My first was TRS-80, but not the big TRS-80. It was the Pocket. It was the it was about the size of a hardcover book, hardcover book. But it only ran BASIC, and it ran games off a cassette tape drive.
Oh yeah.
That's where I first played.
That was my TI too, right? Was cassette tape. I never had a hard drive floppy drive for that thing.
Yeah,
Did
one
you ever
of
see
my
the floppy drive for the TI? Google it. It's huge. It's like a Winnebago. With
Did it
a
take like
disc
5-inch
drive.
discs or something?
No, it was a standard 3 1/4. But the case that it was in, it was like one slot of 10 was occupied by the drive, and I guess it was an expansion bay, right? But they never came out with anything else that you could stick in it. So it was like you just had this thing that took up your whole desktop. A friend of mine actually had one, and it was massive, and it was solid steel too, man. That thing probably weighed 50 pounds. You could have ran over it with your car, and it wouldn't have felt it.
Yeah. It sounds like some people in the chat, their first computer was a 386 or a 486, that sounds about right. I mean, a lot of people, I think, were starting to get into computers around the early to mid 90s, which is when
Well, I think it was like Wolfenstein 3D, and a lot of people were
Doom
like, "Oh my
and,
god, I
yeah.
gotta have a computer."
Doom.
So
Wing
that's what broke me
Commander.
off the Amiga.
Yeah.
It was XCOM and Doom, and I was just like, okay, Doom I could tolerate, whatever, but then I'm like looking at XCOM, and I'm just like, oh my god, I have to play this. So all right, and I cut out it was remember Computer Shopper that used to be as big as a telephone book.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And
Oh,
now it's a
God, yeah.
pamphlet.
Oh, that was the shit back then.
Yeah, so I found oh man, talk about shopping hard. It was like I shopped till my eyes went crossed in that thing, looking for what is the best, like 486 DX66, that I can get with. Oh man, I got to get like 4 megs of RAM in this thing. It's going to be insane, and
Sweet.
so yeah, and it was I forget how much this thing cost. It was like over $1,000. It was like $1,200 or something. And back then I was working for like $6 an hour, so this was real money, and. Yeah. Oh wow, how times have changed. Inflation. But anyway, so I actually like cut the page out of Computer Shopper and taped it to my wall, like next to
Your aspiration wall
it
or
was
whatever
my
it's called.
aspiration thing. And I'm just like, this is what's happening. I'm good enough, and I'm cool enough, and by God, I deserve this. Stuart Smalley.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like my first computer was an Apple II, but it was probably the 386 that I really kind of started understanding what was going on. Like, aside from, I want to play this game, so I have to do this thing. Like, I got good at it around the 386.
Well, how many people in IT do you think got there because of games, right? Because it's like, oh my God, I broke my shit again. How do I fix this, right? And it's like, well, you didn't have tech support to call, right? So it was like
you
figure
didn't
it
even
out.
have you couldn't Google it, you couldn't do anything. It's just like, I
Yeah.
gotta figure this out.
It was like, puzzle it out, man. Figure out what does an IRQ even mean, right?
Yeah,
So
it's like
start
maybe you
reading.
had a game manual that would sort of give you some vague instructions, but
Yeah, I
not
wonder
even
how many
that.
people actually like called the clue line, to help with like hardware problems. Like, man, my IRQs are conflicting, and help.
We're like, sure, we'll spend 2 hours on you with the phone. It's only $5 a minute on the 900 number.
So
Boy, that's the business we could get into right now, man. Just get a 900 number tech support. It's just like, you don't have a support contract, but we'll support anything. 1-900.
have an old
computer.
IBM 8086, like someone in the Twitch chat. We can work with that.
No
Does
problem.
Does it have a 20 meg hard drive? Oh my God! Remember how
It is all right. It's like, we'll Google that for you. We'll Google anything. 1-900, whatever.
1-900, can I Google that for you.com.
God, my first hard drive was a 20 meg hard drive on a PS2, and that thing felt so cavernous back in the day. Like, I could put every game I own on this. This is amazing.
And every picture of Cindy Crawford that I downloaded from that BBS.
It took 20
Absolutely.
hours just to download 10 pictures.
I know, right? You're like
Took 20
15 minutes
hours.
into it, and it's like, wait, I think I see a nipple. It was almost as bad as watching like porn on the scrambled channel.
Yeah, the squiggly porn.
It's like, I thought I saw something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Fermione in Twitch had a similar experience that I did. I got it was the IBM PS2 Model 25. It was the all-in-one. Do you remember that one? It was the one with the monitor and the 2 floppy drives underneath.
Oh, yeah.
And at one point, I took out one of the floppy drives and replaced it with a 20 meg hard drive. I was banging on all cylinders in 1989, my friends.
So
Oh my God. What about the first computer you ever built yourself?
I'm a
That was,
loser. The first computer I ever built was like an Athlon 64. Like, it took me, I was in like undergrad when I built a computer finally, like from the ground up.
Yeah, mine was an AMD like K3 or something that I built. I was a rebel, man. Had to get away from that Intel stuff. And I felt, what was that chip? It was, oh god, it was just junk. It was like a Cyrex or something that they sold for a while. It was like the third wheel.
I know
it was
what you're
like
talking
Brand
about.
X CPU.
I remember.
no, I think they were Cyrexes, and it was just like not compatible with anything, and it was like there was Intel, AMD, and piece of shit. Yeah, so I felt bad for anybody that bought those.
Mine was a. I actually went to a class. I actually paid an instructor to teach me how to build my first PC that I built myself. It was a Pentium 120 that I overclocked to 125 and then fried a year later, and I will never overclock. I will never overclock ever again. But I will tell you the first time I finally built that and then ran EF2000 at max settings.
Sweet.
Holy shit, that was the stuff.
Oh, it was smooth, man.
Oh yeah.
Like, I got like my frame rate in the double digits. This is crazy.
With that
And that's funny. That's something that we never remember, right? Like these old games, like you go back and you play Wing Commander or whatever, and you're not getting like, even on a kick-ass machine, or if you jack DOSBox all the way up, you're not getting like 200 FPS. You're getting like 10, 15 kind of a thing.
Yep.
And that's how it was meant to be.
Yeah, well, and I don't know, man. It's like we dealt with that, so much video lag stuff in games, and the rise of 3D, I think, made it better / worse. But it's like, I remember a thing that's currently up on Steam, right? Is Jane's, was it 1942, the World War II. Pacific
Air War.
Yeah, Pacific Air War. That's it. Yeah, so like playing Pacific Air War, well, it's in glorious 320 by 200 resolution, right? So 1 pixel plane off on the horizon, that's a big pixel. So yeah, you don't have any problem seeing that. It was funny. They would like, because they couldn't make it any smaller, they would actually change the color to kind of fade it in. And
right, yeah, I remember that in like Aces of the Pacific or whatever. It's you'd have like the dot, and then it would turn into like 4 dots. So you'd have like a little tail on top and 2 little wings, and then it would kind of eventually sort of mold itself into a very jaggy plane. But
yeah, but you got good, right? You were like, okay, well, there's like 1 pixel over to the left. That means he's facing this way or whatever.
Yeah, like it worked.
It got
made
really
sense.
good at predicting. Yeah. So, and that's the thing about the Aces stuff, because it was Dynamics guys that's what they cut their teeth on, I think, was like Aces of the Pacific, and that those games were so smooth. It was like butter. Like no other flight sims had frame rate like that. It was craziness. But they were like really light detail, right? There was no textures or anything, but oh man, had a blast flying that stuff.
Yeah, like to me it was the difference between like Wing Commander and X-Wing.
I'll tell you though, Pacific Air War is still my favorite World War II flight sim.
It's a great game.
Oh my god. I mean, what other sim can you be an admiral and a pilot? Not many.
No.
Yeah, and why don't they? This is a thing that I've never understood, right? These old games, like it took, oh my god, how long for XCOM to actually get a remake? Because the fan base tried and tried. Like so many people made knockoff things of XCOM, but it was like nobody just made the damn game, right? It's like, well, it's like XCOM but with clowns. It's different. It's just like, just make the freaking game, right? Like all the numbers are there. Do you have the Microprose strategy guide? Every number in the game is revealed to you. Like just code it, just,
it's right there.
Just make it run in like 1024 by 768. It'll be like the HD edition, and everybody will rejoice. But there's so many game things, like what Brian was saying, like the 1942 Pacific Air War. That's a thing that I would think that some indie devs could sit down and study that game and just be like, yeah, we can knock this out in about 3 months and do it. I mean, back then they had to write their own engine. It's like now you got Unity. Just go grab some airplanes and stick them in there and make them work.
If someone kickstarted a new 1942, I would be there in a freaking heartbeat. I mean, I still play that sim every now and again. Even with all its jankiness, it's still just, I love being the admiral and then go, hey, here's a fight. You want to join in? Do I?
Yeah, absolutely.
You bet your ass I do. Click. It's like, hey, I'm a pilot now. Whee! I guess the only other game that lets you do that was what, Total Air War? Remember that one?
I never played Total Air War.
Oh, Total Air War was great.
There was like the trifecta of F-22 sims that came out, right? There's like F-22 Lightning and F-22 something, and
well,
then
there was IF-22. Don't forget digital. Don't
yeah,
forget
that's
that
the one. It was
IF-22.
IF-22,
Which
and
was
F-22
great.
Lightning from
And
Nova
then-
Logic.
But there were
Which was basically an arcade game.
Yes, but then DID. Don't forget they did 2 F-22 games. First they did the standalone F-22 game, which had a
do you
linear
remember
campaign.
F-29 Retaliator? That
Oh,
was
yeah.
their first game.
What was
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
1989, 1990 was that one?
Yeah. That was hot
Yeah.
shit for back then, man. That was unbelievable graphics. It was just
Oh.
call your mom in the room, show her this thing. It's crazy.
Man, I still remember like Jet, like Sublogic's Jet and stuff like that from back in that day, back in those days. Oh man. But there are people in the chat talking about a lot of their old hardware. Like they apparently had old motherboards that wouldn't work properly unless they did the contacts exactly right or something. Like was hardware that janky back then? It feels like
It was pretty janky. Like I remember,
yeah.
you asked, like the one thing I remember, like it took me a long time to actually build a computer, but we all got like modems and sound cards and all kinds of, because there was no onboard anything. If you wanted something, you had to get, a PCI card or like I said before, an ISA card or whatever. And I got at one point, I think it was a Sound Blaster 16. And I went home to put it in probably my 486 DX266, which was that's my favorite gaming computer that I ever had. Like that's the one when I think back to like, oh yeah, what's the best computer I ever had? It was that 486 DX266, because all my friends had 486 DX33s, and I had the DX266. I had the monster machine.
Would you play Would you play Wing Commander and Privateer 2 like balls to the wall on that thing?
Actually,
just Privateer 1.
Well,
Just Privateer
you can't really
1,
play
sorry.
Privateer 2 balls to the wall because it's boring. But
sorry, I meant Privateer 1. I meant Privateer 1.
yeah, absolutely.
I meant Wing Commander 2 because that was like the epic one. And then
Yes.
Well, TIE
Privateer.
Fighter, right? You could turn on that garage shading.
Garage shading,
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
or whatever
so you
that
turn
was.
that on, and then it had like a higher res. So it was like 320 by 200 default, but then you could take it up to 640 by 480 if you had a monster rig.
Super VGA, yeah.
Yeah. So it was like when I got my Pentium 60, it was like, oh yeah, I'm checking that box. Boom, TIE Fighter in 640. Oh my god, it's glorious.
Or it was like
it was almost like anti-aliasing.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I think I got after that I got a Pentium 200, which was nice, and I can't remember if it was the 486. That this Wing Commander 3 would have been Pentium days.
Was it Pentium 200? Because if you remember the Pentium 2, it was like a damn Atari cartridge or a Nintendo tape.
Which I
that you
loved.
stick-
I loved that, by the way.
I'm
No,
kind of
it was a
sad
Pentium
that it
1,
worked
but
that way.
yeah, had a NEC Pentium 200. But oh yeah, so I would play Wing Commander 3 on that, and you could play it in 320 by 200 or 640 by 480. And for some reason, when I would switch it into SVGA 640 by 480, my sound would go janky. I don't know if it was like too much for everything to handle, so my sound would start going like it would get super choppy. And so I basically had to choose, did I want the game to look good or sound good?
Oh man, so much memory. So folks, like I was saying earlier, one of the reasons I wanted to do this particular show is because I'm loving having older hardware. Like my joystick is 14 years old, and the MT32 came out in 1987. Is that right? I think.
I believe
87?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the SC55 came out in what, 91, 92, I think.
And this is like, it's funny. So this MT32, it was like a total fluke, as I understand it. Like this thing was designed. So it's MT32 was it multi-tonal or multi-timbre 32. And what this was supposed to be used for, if I remember right, I might get the details wrong, but this thing, if you had a Roland keyboard, it had a certain number of instruments and sound channels and whatever. And so you would buy this MT32 and you would plug it into your Roland keyboard, and it would give you, I can't remember if it was 32 more channels or 32 more instruments that you could play through your Roland keyboard. And that's what it's for. Like, it is not for computer game audio.
Oh, I know, but it really took off because of Sierra. Sierra like made native support with it with a lot of their big games. And
yeah, and I know my buddy Trolls over, he's the Space Quest historian. He's interviewed multiple times. He's actually like buddies with Ken Allen, who's the composer on like Space Quest 4 and a bunch of games like that. And he basically said the way it worked at Sierra is they would compose to the MT32. And so they all had MT32s on their desks at Sierra. They're like, it was friggin' awesome. And so they would compose to that, and then they would basically downgrade everything to like, down to the Sound Blaster and the ad lib and everything else. So it was like the high end. If you wanted the music the way it was meant to be heard, the way it was composed, you had to listen to it on the MT32.
Oh, well, see, they should have had you as their spokesman because they could have sold us those back then. Because
there you go.
Otherwise, it was just like, it's just freaking expensive. I don't know what the difference is.
If only
it's
I
like,
wasn't 10.
I don't have a keyboard. I don't need that MIDI crap. But yeah.
So, folks, just to understand what we're talking about, I'm going to play some sounds for you.
Yay.
First, we're going to do Master of Orion to talk about what the MT32 sounds like.
So are you going to play like with and without?
Yes.
Kind of thing? So
yeah,
I'm
actually setting up Master of Orion right now to run the what most DOS box games run is the standard Sound Blaster 16.
Yeah,
emulation.
Now if Wargaming.net wanted to get it right, then they should have actually had some Roland support in their new version of Master of Orion, right?
That would be awesome.
So for those like 5 people out there that it would tickle. Can you imagine like old school Master of Orion? It's like, hey, you get the collector's edition. It's the soundtrack on another floppy disk.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Master of Orion 2 to run with the Sound Blaster right now.
Yeah, that's always the funny part is you got to kind of like go in and futz with the settings. And there we go.
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that was Master of Orion with the Sound Blaster going.
Now
it's nice, whatever. Yeah.
It's all right. Nothing wrong with it. But now let me set it up so it'll run the MT32, which I'm excited about. Because I have one. I love having one.
My favorite part is the little screen. I like things with little blinky lights. Working. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I had to set that up. Yeah, one of the great things, folks, about the MT32 is that when certain games run it, it'll say like Star Control or it'll say Microprose F117A,
And that's a total hack. Like you can say, I can't remember if it's like diagnostic messages or something, but there was this little utility that they could do to affect the screen, but it wasn't anything that was ever really supposed to be used.
Yeah, well, I love how it's used. I love watching the MT32 screen going off. Now this should work because I just saw it go off, and I think the MIDI light. Yeah, the MIDI light's going. It's got a little MIDI light. Now just check this out, my friends. Oh my God. It's just, I don't know why Master of Orion takes so long to load. It's like this game is 23 years old. Why does it take so long?
More cycles, more DOSBox. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the same music.
Oh, I love it.
And that little screen is going like bass drum, explosion.
Oh yeah, it's totally like all firing on all cylinders right now.
That is a hell of a difference. I've never heard that before.
It's so much richer. It's just like it's crazy.
So much richer. It's amazing how much better this sounds with the actual hardware.
So,
oh my god.
What about in DOSBox? Like when I emulate something, if I pick the Roland, am I going to get this?
If you actually have a Roland, yeah. Or you can also...
No, I mean, well, doesn't it emulate it? Because it's DOSBox, like you pick whatever, right?
No, it's using the Roland.
Right, but what I'm saying is, why does it not just emulate a damn Roland in DOSBox? Why could they not do that?
You can.
It's actually illegal.
What?
Oh, well.
So that whole, all that, because, you know, there's like Munt and all these other things, and they could do a certain amount, but what you actually need to make this work properly, like I think ScumVM actually has Roland emulation, which is pretty good. But what you really needed was the ROM files off of the MT32. So you could get a bunch of utilities that would emulate it, but you had to somehow get the files off of an MT32, the ROMs, and put them into a directory, and then some of these emulators could actually use it. So, you know, you could get them illegally, but technically you couldn't. You actually had to get...
It's like, no, I own all these Nintendo tapes, really. All
right, so folks, here's another test. This is TIE Fighter with the Sound Blaster emulated music.
Oh, this shit's gonna make me...
You know,
that's the tester.
Not bad. Yeah, it's the tester. Not bad, right? You know, sounds pretty okay. Now, hang on, let me set it up for the MIDI.
So this is MT32 or the other one? We shall see.
Sorry, hang on.
All right, it's all good. This is delicate work.
Did you hear
that?
What?
Oh.
What? Holy crap.
It's a different world on Roland. So was that the MT32 or the SC55?
That was the SC55.
Yeah.
Actually, it was both. The interesting thing about this game is if you have both running, they have slightly different instruments at the same time, so it sounds even fuller when you have the volume up on both.
Yeah, so this is funny because the way, we didn't talk about this in detail, but the way I have mine set up, and I guess you, Brian, you also have yours set up, because we only have one MIDI port on this USB thing, is that they're daisy chained together. So the SC55 has a MIDI through port. So basically you plug the MT32 into the MIDI through on the SC55, and then you plug the SC55 into the actual audio port. And if you want to run the MT32, you have to have both machines on and the SC55 muted. But I've found that sometimes if you run both of them, it actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do. So hang on a second. Yeah, let's run them both.
So that's digital audio, if I'm not mistaken.
This is both of them going.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's weird, but it's cool.
This is without the M32.
Such a copyright violation.
MIDI doesn't count.
Oh, okay.
I wish. Now, Haratori says, if you really want to show the difference, we should play the Red Baron intro.
If you've got it, he's right.
I've got Red Baron. Oh, absolutely. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I want to hear Wing Commander as well.
Oh, the Roland.
Privateer.
We got to hear some of the Fat Man.
Okay, 1 second.
But yeah, do Red Baron first if you can.
I gotta get the sound set up in that one. Give me a second.
Yep.
So while he's doing that, let's talk about video cards.
Yeah.
All right. Because now, you know, the ATI and NVIDIA and whatever generation, and it just doesn't really make a huge difference. Like people can be like, oh, well, it's got, X gajillion shader pipes in it, and the other one had like 10 less. Whatever, right? But back in the day, the difference between like a Voodoo 2, the Voodoo Extreme, whatever, they went clear up to like Voodoo 5000 or some crap, and then at some point Riva TNT showed up and just ate its lunch.
Ooh. Well, that's Red Baron. Oh, it's got the harmony.
Hang on, I gotta figure that out. 1 second.
So that was the MT32, right?
That was totally the MT32.
Yeah, because that sounded pretty wicked.
Right. Oh my god. Folks, I gotta tell you, having this old hardware, you don't use it for every game, but if you're into retro gaming, this is the shit, you guys.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It's so much fun, and it sounds so great. And you're like, I couldn't afford this when I was 20, but I can afford it now. Woo!
And also, that's not to like put down any of the other stuff. Like, there's some games that sound really, really great in like in AdLib. Because like AdLib is like super kind of like, first gen sort of digital audio synthesis type cards. And what is it? It's the original Dune, not Dune 2, not the RTS, but like the weird European one. If you've ever heard soundtrack in AdLib Gold, it's amazing.
Really?
Yeah.
God, I have no idea how to change the sound in Red Baron.
You should just be able to run the installer. Depending, I don't know if the GOG version has an installer. You might have to do it the crappy way.
Oh, it might. Hang on a second. I think I have to set something up. It might be inst.exe. Oh,
it
guys,
may well be.
Dealing with these old games, I'll tell you, it is a joy, but it can also be a chore.
But that's how it was, right? That's how it always was.
It's totally how it was. Completely and utterly.
Yeah, like I was talking about Aces of the Pacific before, and I also remember that was the game that taught me how about extended memory and upper memory blocks and all that, because it needed something like 603K of conventional memory available to actually start the game.
Oh God, yeah.
And so you literally, like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, do I need a mouse driver? Do I really need a mouse driver? No, I don't need a mouse driver. And do I need this? Do I need that? And it was like playing with Lego, right? You're like, okay, well, I got this driver that's like 10K, this driver that's 2K, this driver that's 5K, and I've got this much space. I got 64K in upper memory. So how many things can I fit in that 64K to free up as much conventional memory as possible? And what don't I need to install at all? And it was just like, it was like just this puzzle, because you had all these pieces that were different sizes, and you had to find which ones fit in this 64K block in the most effective manner.
Okay, 1 second. I'm trying to get this to run. Nope, didn't work.
Boo. Anyways, we heard the good one.
Anyway, yeah, sometimes GOG Galaxy gives you a link to run the setup program. This time they didn't for some reason, and I'm having issues running it in my usual DOS box launcher. So anyway, having this old hardware, like, I don't know about you, but it's like the older I get, the more back I go on hardware. Like with my joystick, for example, I had a really fairly modern Satec rig until it started dying, and then I went back to the several years to the Sidewinder here, and it still fucking works.
Wow, some stuff's they're built like tanks.
Yeah, like you know about my keyboard, right?
Oh yeah.
So let's take a look at some of the hardware that people mentioned on Twitter and Facebook and all that. Yeah, many people, because I asked them what like their favorite bits of hardware were that they remember. Um, oh, is the stream not running? Shit.
But if I see it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts.
Hang on, let me check.
I see video on YouTube.
Freaking restream.
Restreamio.
Oh man, it's offline. No, it's online. Hang on, it says it's live. Refresh, yeah, refresh
Yeah.
because
Maybe it hiccuped a second and
1 second.
well, if the stream isn't running, how are they supposed to hear you tell them to refresh?
That's why I'm typing it out. No, we have a lot of people when I asked them what their favorite hardware was. A lot of people said the original Sound Blaster and Voodoo cards. And those, I mean, yeah, we had 3D accelerators and sound cards before those two, but it's like those two were the ones that like changed the game. You know, you know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah.
you had other cards that, you know, like you had Adlib and you had Rendition and whatnot, but then Voodoo came along and Sound Blaster came along, and it's just like, oh, this is the standard now because this is just better. Like
Well, I remember that. Like the first time I got a sound, like, but my first sound card was like, I think it was called like a Sound Wonder. It was like a Sound Blaster emulator, like generic ass, like crap thing. But, you know, it made me like the first thing I did when I got the sound card was I went home, I jammed it in the computer, you know, as best I could. And I found some old speakers because I didn't have any, you know, even getting speakers was like a challenge at that point. And you had to see, depending on like, if your sound card, like this one had actually a little amp in it, so I didn't need powered speakers. But yeah, and so I went back and I installed Wing Commander again, and I, you know, playing Wing Commander for the first time with sound. Holy crap. Like, wow, a totally different game, right?
Yeah, I know. Like, I had an Adlib card, and that was nice, you know, for Wing Commander 1 and whatnot. But then I don't know if you guys remember this, the big ass Sound Blaster AW32 that, like, you had to have a huge case just to fit, because that thing was almost as long. That thing was super long, you guys. It was like motherboard long.
That's like my current video card. My GTX 1070 is 11 3/4 inches long.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember the AW32 had its own memory chip slots? Like you can add memory to the card.
Some people say it did MT32 emulation as well as an actual MT32.
But it
I don't know if I believe it.
Well, it also had its own MIDI thing. Like there are some games, like I think TIE Fighter was one of them, that supported the AW32 natively.
Yeah. Yeah, and it had all. That's where when you started getting into things like sound fonts and
oh
and
god,
all kinds
sound
of stuff
fonts.
like that.
Yeah, I remember that came on a disc or something, like an actual CD-ROM.
And it's like play this game with this sound font, and it sounds like you're blah blah blah. And that's when you can mess with things and you know set things. Oh hey, it sounds like I'm in.
It sounds like you're in a sewer pipe.
Yeah, which is supposed to be concert hall. It's concert hall or bathroom.
Speaking of that, reminds me, CDs. I completely forgot about cartridge loading CD-ROM drives until the other day.
Oh yeah,
that was my first CD-ROM. The one that I ran Myst on and shit was one of those cartridge loading. And God help you if you lost that damn cartridge, because you were
useless then.
Fucked. You were just fucked.
Yeah, my friend. So the first 386 I ever saw, one of my friends got it, and that was I actually borrowed Wing Commander from him, and that was like the first time I played Wing Commander. I saw it at his house on this 386, and I had a 286 at the time, and I didn't think that my computer could run Wing Commander because I basically looked at this game and said, my computer games can't look like this. Like, it looks too good to be a computer game.
Oh, God, I know, right? Like, you play Wing Commander 1, and you're like... Because the first time... I don't know about you, but the first time I ever saw an ad for Wing Commander, it was like... It showed your hand in the cockpit, like, you know, the virtual hand. I'm like, oh, my God, it's the last Starfighter game I've been wanting since the movie came out, you know.
And I didn't get to see that hand because I didn't have extended memory.
Oh no! So you just had the oh no! I've seen that.
I just saw two legs and a big space.
God, it's so weird though, because Free Space 2 has spoiled me. It's like, I don't want a cockpit. Turn this shit. Oh, I can't turn this off. God damn it! I can't see anything. I can't see anything with this cockpit here. Turn it off.
Away.
Exactly. Oh yeah, someone in the chat mentioned something about a modem and a sound card at the same time. What was that thing called? The Sound 144 AM on a Packard Bell, because apparently it was an integrated card. It was two things in one. Wow.
Yeah, so you'd hear the handshake noise through your speakers.
Oh, God, I don't miss that handshake noise, but sometimes I miss that handshake noise.
I miss it, but it was always the worst when you're like, oh, I'm up late, and it's like I got out of bed and I really want to go on the modem, and then you're like, your parents are sleeping, and you're putting your hand over the computer so that they don't hear the.
No, the best is when I got my own phone line eventually at my grandparents' house, because so many times I'd be on the modem and all of a sudden I'd hear, Brian,
No!
Brian. It's like, shit, put the phone down, Mom. Jesus.
It's awesome too when you're about 3 hours into a floppy disk download, right?
Like, I'm almost done Test Drive 3. Just stop.
Oh yeah, and if you weren't downloading with Z modem batch, that was resumable.
Oh yeah, or
if
Kermit,
you were on
Kermit all the way.
You're dead. Start over.
But I don't know. I got the worst case of trumpet windsock right now.
Oh my God. So yeah, a lot of people mentioned those two cards. Now for me, the big one was the Voodoo. Like, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Canopus. Remember Canopus? Like
I used to smoke a lot of Canopus.
Oh God. The first Voodoo cards were only 4 megabytes, but Canopus released the Pure 3D, which was 6. Remember that?
Yeah, because I had a Voodoo 1, and it was like a daughter card. And you actually you had this little like VGA cable that you would plug you'd plug your 2D card into the Voodoo, and then you'd plug your monitor into the Voodoo.
The Voodoo 2 was the same way. The Voodoo 2 were daughter cards, and you could have 2 of them. An SLI, baby. Oh
Sweet.
my God. SLI. Those are the days. Folks on the chat, I'm slowly building, probably after the wedding, a Legacy PC. I just got Voodoo 2 cards. That's my first purchase for this thing.
I feel like I should have known that SLI means Scalable Link Interface.
Yeah, because it would one card would take one set of lines, and then the other card would take the other set of lines, and they would mesh together. It would be the greatest thing in the world. Oh God. But let's see, what's some of the other pieces of hardware? Oh, a lot of people mentioned Amigas. Jim, you were talking about Amiga earlier. Which Amiga did you
Amigas
have?
were the business, man.
Which Amiga did you have?
500.
Yeah, 'cause I never had one. I know a lot.
Yeah, I wasn't an Amiga guy. I was
wasn't either. And I swear, every Amiga fan I knew was always angry, because every time I told them what I was playing on the PC, they were like, the Amiga version's so much better. You should own an Amiga. I'm like, whatever, man. All the games are on the PC.
I've got 3 voices on my PC speaker.
Unless you had a Tandy. Remember my first DOS computer was a Tandy 1000EX, and it had a special 3-thing speaker or something, and certain games would have like different speaker sounds. It would be like
you could select. It was Sound Blaster, it was PC speaker, Tandy, or Sound Blaster.
This is even before that. This is even before AdLib. This is like late 80s.
Yeah.
Ooh, Tandy. Ooh, Tandy is a thing. Oh God, remember Tandy?
I always remember seeing the Tandy at Radio Shack.
Yeah.
Just right in the door, and always playing like some little kiosk demo thing.
Munchman.
That's where I first got Starflight, was a Radio Shack. I got my Tandy 1000EX with the built-in 5 1/4-inch floppy drive, and Starflight for the same Christmas. And yeah, I stayed in my room for about 2 weeks, just playing Starflight.
I know. I used to do dumb shit just to get sent to my room. I'd be like, okay,
Go to your room. Yes.
All right.
yes, success.
Because back then your guardians didn't understand that wasn't a punishment anymore.
Exactly.
So let's see what's some of this other shit. So yeah, some people mentioned the Amiga 1200 and the 3000. I think when I was in high school, I was in a video class and we were using, I think, the Amiga 3000 for video production.
Cool.
Back in the day. And I remember playing Lynx on that thing, and it was nicer than the DOS version, and I was jealous. Remember when there were golf games? Remember when that was
Lynx,
a thing?
yeah,
Still
Lynx
are, man.
386. There are still golf games, are there?
Yeah, there's Jack Nicklaus Perfect Golf on Steam. It's like
What?
still in early access.
No,
Mhm.
really?
Yeah, and it's a callback to the ye old days, right? Yeah, it's good. I own it.
And I'm sure there's like a Tiger Woods something or other.
No,
I don't-
man.
I don't
Ever
think
since
they-
he
I
ever
think
since
they
he backed
stopped
over
that.
the mailbox, he's been gone.
Oh, I
Yeah.
mean, like, yeah, but from back in the day when he was like cool and no one knew about his shenanigans.
Well, yeah, it was all the EA stuff, right? But
Yeah.
I don't know. They never quite got the swing mechanics right on that stuff. But I remember Microprose made a golf game that was just the business, because it actually had like a lot of ball motion.
Oh, yeah.
and
So it was like
it had
the
flyby
Lynx-
camera on the ball.
Yeah, Lynx was like the 3-click deal, right?
Yeah, who made that? Like Apogee or something?
No, it was its own thing. It was its own company. I don't even remember.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, golf games. Wow, there was one because they had the swing meter, right? So it's just like you draw the club back and you click, and then whenever it gets like in the middle, you have to click again. So it was like a timing thing, right? But then there was one that they actually they used the mouse, so you would have to actually like shove the mouse up the desk in a straight line. It was almost like playing shuffle puck golf.
Oh, Lynx was by Access Software, the Tex Murphy folks.
Okay, yeah, Access, that was it.
At least I think they're the Tex Murphy folks. Yeah, they are.
No, that makes sense.
It's too bad that golf and full motion video like Tex Murphy didn't come together, right? So then you'd have like Arnold Palmer's Extreme Golf, and it would be like an hour of actual Arnold Palmer. It'd be like the Pete Bonanni thing in Falcon, where it's like taking you through air combat maneuver training with
Now
the two model planes on sticks.
No, the best was Chuck Yeager's Air Flight Trainer, I think it was called. And like when you would crash, he'd like totally shit talk you. Be like, that's the worst landing I've ever seen. This black and white, like horribly, like it looked like it came off a dot matrix printer image of Chuck Yeager, like looking all surly and shit. Like, yeah, you suck. Like, thanks, Chuck. You're my hero. I love you. Don't stop it. But yeah, what happened to Amiga? Getting back on that, because I never had one, and then eventually they just kind of disappeared. Like, do you guys know what happened? Like, was DOS and Windows and just the PC, was it that dominant that it killed off the Amiga?
Must have been.
I think so, yeah. And Commodore made some pretty bad business decisions in the final moments too.
I keep forgetting that that the Amiga is a Commodore.
I do too. I completely forget that. Yeah, it was the Commodore Amiga. I just remember it as the Amiga. That's right. The only reason I want to play the Amiga now is because there's like some ports I want to try. Like I want to try Starflight on the Amiga, and apparently you can buy this amazing emulator that's like $30 that gives you like an honest to goodness full Amiga experience or something.
All right, so I'm a big dork. So Commodore was founded in 1954 in Toronto, where I am currently
What?
sitting.
Wait,
That's what Wikipedia says.
Commodore has been around that long?
Yeah, Commodore International, the like electronics company. Yeah, for sure.
Oh my god, I had no idea. It's pretty goddamn amazing, actually.
The company would become Commodore Business Machine, which was it was founded in 1954 in Toronto as the Commodore Portable Typewriter Company. That sounds interesting.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I remember for a long time there was a huge like battle between Commodore and PC. It was like Commodore 64/128 was kind of the dominant gaming machine for a while. Like I never had one, but I know a lot of people who did.
Oh yeah, we had family friends that lived and died by their Commodore. We had our Apple II, and my dad had his 8088, the PC that he used for serious business, and we had the Apple II to play, and then the other our family friends had the Commodore 64, and their games were way better.
Yeah, and it was only when I saw some games on the 64 one time, I'm like, wow, I kind of want one of these, but there's so many games for my PC. Like, I don't want to double dip on like F-19 Stealth Fighter, just to run it on a Commodore.
Yeah, and the Commodore 64 had that SID audio chip that sounded really great for the time.
Oh, at the time, yeah, that sounded amazing. So much better than anything that was on the PC at the time, even Tandy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. According to Heritorian YouTube chat, they went bankrupt. Commodore went bankrupt mostly because IBM was lax with their PC patents, so everyone and their dog started making IBM PC compatible computers.
Makes sense.
Thank God. Thank God they were.
Because aside from that first the PC that my dad had, that I basically was allowed to occasionally like type a story on, I wasn't allowed to use it because it was for work.
Yeah, he typed it on WordPerfect.
Yeah, or whatever,
like
or he had like some
or whatever.
Yeah, and aside from that, that was the only IBM that I ever actually had. The rest were just like clones and home builds, and we were weird because I don't know how it worked, but my dad, until our Pentium, would always somehow get computers, but we never actually paid for them. I'm not sure how that worked, but they would just show up.
Canadian
yeah, probably.
Mafia.
I am Italian.
I was gonna say you got the name for that sort of thing.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Please, I don't want to worry about the Canadian Mafia. I really don't.
I know guys over there on that coast,
They'd have to come down across the border, but I'm sure it'll be fine.
The Vancouver family's gonna come and see you.
Hey, can I go up there and maybe see a taping of Supernatural or Supergirl or one of the other billion shows that are recorded in Vancouver?
Hey, the dollar's good, so.
That's true. May it stay that way, at least until the election's over. Oh my God. Oh, but someone else mentioned, Jim, you mentioned earlier the Texas Instruments computer. Was it the TI-99?
Yeah. Now, there was also another computer. It wasn't a TI. I don't know who the heck made this, but it was in Radio Shack, right? So it was a Radio Shack something portable computer, but it was like a giant calculator. It was a calculator with a full keyboard on it.
I owned it.
That thing was glorious, man.
It was the first thing that I had a modem with, and it was a 300 baud modem. But the only way it could use it was with an acoustic coupler. Remember those?
Uh-huh.
The War Games thing, where you
yeah,
took the
you
receiver.
had to put the phone receiver on
You had to put the
thing
phone receiver on the fucking thing. But I tell you, man, the first time I used CompuServe with that thing, mind just fucking blown.
So it wasn't the TRS-80. Oh no, was it the Model 100 or something?
It was a portable computer, but like it had this really small dinky LCD display, and it could only use like built-in Tandy programs, so it couldn't do much. It couldn't run DOS or anything. It could only run its own shit. But man, I took that thing everywhere, and I would type little basic programs out on it, and it had a couple of games. Remember when computer game magazines would actually come with games in the middle? That was like the centerfold was the basic for like an Asteroids, and you would spend like 5 hours typing that out. You know what I mean? Spent 5 hours typing that out. And then all of a sudden, I've got my own little Asteroids that I'm going to save to this floppy disk, this low-density floppy disk. And this is the one game this computer has. What? I'm going to look that up. Give me a second. Tandy laptop. Give me a second. No, it existed. But my God.
See, because I'm finding like the Tandy TRS-80 Model 100, which is sort of what you're talking about.
Oh,
but
wait a minute. Was that
I think announced in 83. It was $600. It had 8K of RAM, 2.4 megahertz. Sweet.
Oh no, I
And
had I had the 200, which is the flip up one. You know, it was the
hardcore.
flip up one. Yeah. Since Sarf Ghost in YouTube chat asks about Jet Fighter 2. I only played Jet Fighter 3. That was the first one I ever played.
I don't think I played any of the Jet Fighters.
They were pretty fun. They were on the Nova Logic side of arcadey, like silly Ace Combat-y, flight sims. They were fun.
I think the only Novalogic flight sims I played were F-22 Lightning and Comanche Maximum Overkill.
Oh, the
Well,
F-16.
if you haven't played Comanche 4, that's the best of them. It's on Steam right now.
Comanche 4 is great. Their F-16 and MiG-29 sims are actually pretty good, and they were meant to interlink together so you could fly them head
Against
to head.
each other, sort of.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
and they're also all on Steam. Oh, class! I would love it if the Jane Sims eventually got a digital release. How fucking amazing would that be?
Aren't they on GOG?
No, fucking nothing. Not Longbow, not F-18, not Advanced Tactical, whatever's, or Fighter Anthology. None of them. And it's just, I own them all on disc, but getting them to work.
Oh no! See, I'm thinking of Falcon. The Falcon collection is on.
Which
on
is
GOG.
which is very exciting. Because trying to get Falcon 4 for a long time, especially with that amazing manual, was a challenge. But Jim, someone on Facebook said they still have a TI-99, which is why I was mentioning the TI-99 earlier. Apparently, they still have one.
Oh wow.
That's amazing. Like, I think the oldest piece of computer equipment I have is this keyboard. No, the MT32 is older than the keyboard.
Not by much.
Not by much. The keyboard is 1989, but the MT32 is 1986. Wow.
Look at that.
So old. And yet they still work. How awesome is that?
So they made that stuff like tanks. Like, it was great.
Yeah, I know. Not like today, where things are just flimsy and cheap.
Pretty much.
Jim, you wanted to hear Wing Commander. Let me play you that.
Oh yeah, we got to hear Wing Commander. Bum, 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 bum. No, that's the in-flight music, not the intro.
Here we go.
Should we be hearing it?
Origin Sound System, the M32
Oh,
says. Oh yeah. Here we go.
Tuck, tuck, tuck.
Jim, you're gonna love this. This is amazing.
Oh, if you've never heard it.
Oh, here we go. Come on, man.
It's got pew pew. I'd never heard pew pew before.
Yeah. That's some George Sanger.
That is,
right there.
yeah, that's the fat man right there, ladies and gentlemen.
That's crazy. Like, I never heard like that pew pew laser stuff before. That was,
Yeah, right in the intro there where the Hornet's shooting is it a Drelthy?
Now, I sadly you didn't get to hear the tick 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 because I hit a button. So let me just give you that for a second. 1 second.
Oh yeah, the whole Origin sound system.
Yeah, I'm gonna
fireworks intro.
Yeah, because I hit the end key with my pedal. So hang on a second. Oh man, it won't let me play it.
I won't let you play it.
Yeah, 1 second.
You gotta like exit out and go back in. It's compelling radio right here, folks.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second.
It's
Here
on
it
the
goes.
fly.
I unmuted the mic so I wouldn't have to hit the button. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Origin FX.
There it is.
Nice. Sweet.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the first time I finally got to hear that with the actual hardware, and it's not easy to do that. There's like a fucking 2 billion things you have to do to get it to work with DOSBox, which is weird. Like in most DOSBox things, it's just, oh, change the MIDI thing to 0 or whatever the USB thing is, and you're done. But with Wing Commander, you had to like change a bunch of shit. But yeah, man, having that old hardware. Oh my god. I swear. I love having this old shit. So let's see, what's some of the other pieces of hardware people mentioned? Let me see.
I'm trying to remember weird stuff I had.
The Atari.
I mean, I know you had a whole episode on joysticks and stuff, but I really loved my Gravis Advanced.
Oh yeah, someone actually brought up the Tandy Deluxe joystick. Remember that thing?
Mm-hmm.
With the little tiny red. It was like a kind of an Atari joystick, but it moved a lot more, and had the little red button.
Yeah, totally remember that one.
Heritori is asking if I have the original Elite, Frontier Elite 2, or First Encounters.
I feel like original Elite would be way too old to support.
Elite 2, Frontier might, but I don't have a copy of it on hand. At least, I mean, I have a copy of it, but not installed. So, that doesn't help. But I think Hera on YouTube, there's actually a very nice article on Wikipedia. If you can't find it, I'll find it. But that lists all the games that support the MT32, and that might be one of them. But like when I first saw that list and it said Master of Orion, Master of Magic, all the Aces games, Aces of the Pacific, Aces of the Atlantic, blah blah blah. Like, I need to own one of these. And they're not hard to find. These MT32s, they're not hard to find. They're all over YouTube.
Oh yeah, like
I mean, not YouTube, eBay. They're all over eBay. Yeah.
Or if you just want to hear how they sound, a lot of people do put up a lot of comparison videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I should probably do that. But I swear, it's just there's something really compelling about having this old hardware, especially when you deal with retro games like we do. It's just something. I mean, yeah, I could emulate General MIDI for TIE Fighter, and it sounds nice, but there's something about having the legacy hardware that it was made for.
Well, I guess especially now, like we're really into virtualization and virtual machines and everything being virtual. Like I was saying, even at work, like up in the cloud, like spawning virtual servers and all that. I think it's very interesting and very kind of like satisfying to have something that is attached to your computer, and when you do something on your computer, that external device does something. Like it's just cool.
Sorry, 1 second.
Yep. If anyone's interested, CoverGirl Strip Poker supports the MT32.
So Elite Elite Plus supports the MT32, but I'm not seeing anything about Frontier. Oh my god, what? 2 of the F-15 Strike Eagle games, Falcon 3.0, Fleet Defender? Really?
That would make sense. Basically anything around like the very early 90s. Like it's kind of weird. The MT32, a lot of games support it, but it was kind of like this 3-4 year kind of span where it was really supported, and then another kind of 2 to 3 year span where the SC55 was supported, and then we just got into digital audio.
Yeah. Wow, dude. Jagged Alliance Deadly Games supports the MT32. You just did a show on Jagged Alliance, which was great.
I did, yeah, not too long ago.
Which is great. I need to play the first one. I've never played the first one. I started with Deadly Games.
It's more straightforward, I guess. The first one, there's like a little bit less to do.
Yeah.
Not less to do, but it's like a smaller game.
Yeah, look at
and
this.
And it's a lot less role play.
Yeah, for Space Sims, folks, let's see. Master of Orion, Hyperspeed, Lightspeed, Elite Plus.
Star Trek 25th Anniversary seems to support it.
Really? Oh, I haven't gone
Yeah.
that far down the list. Oh my God, ATAC. It's not a space game. Remember ATAC? Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Just remembering all these fucking games. Oh God, the original Mech Warrior, which I own.
I remember. What was it? Flight of the Old Dog. You remember that? The Dale Brown thing. You flew basically a B-52 that was heavily modified.
Mega Fortress is what
Mega
it's called.
Fortress.
Yeah,
That's
the
it.
book.
Yep.
The book was
Flight of the Old Dog.
The book was Fly of the Old Dog, but yeah, Mega Fortress was the game. It's because of that game that I read a bunch of his books, including Flight of the Old Dog. Oh yeah, Mega Fortress, guys! If you haven't played Mega Fortress, track that shit down. It is one of the only true bomber-focused flight sims ever made.
And the flying motorcycles too, and deeds not words. Oh wait, that's Mega Force. Sorry.
Did I tell you I watched Mega Force the other day, the Rift Tracks version?
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
You should watch the non-Rift Tracks version.
No,
though.
I did already when I was a kid, for God's sakes. That shit was great when I was 9, but now it's, oh God. Oh God, what else? Oh, all the Police Quest games.
Yeah, basically any
Quest-
Sierra adventure game.
Yeah, Red Baron, clearly. The Rocketeer, RoboCop 3, oh God. Sylphied? Really?
Aha.
SimCity 2000, you guys. Wow. Yeah, there's Star Control 1, which sounds great. But, I can play that. Let me play that real quick. Yeah, that shit real quick. I forgot about that. Let me turn this shit back
Mike
on.
Ditka's Ultimate Football.
Oh, God. Oh, TFX. Oh, I love TFX. Oh, UFO. XCOM, UFO, Enemy Unknown. Oh, my God. Hang on. Let me launch. Because the music for Star Control is hilarious on the M32, you guys. Absolutely hilarious. Here we go. Come on. There we go. It actually says Star Control in the thing. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's got that fade out,
Crazy.
you know. It's got that fade out, you know. And even the menu stuff. Here's the thing, the menu stuff. You hear that? That's the menu. The menu uses the MT32. The menu. It's using a marimba sound effect on the MT32 for that. I'm not even making that up. That's incredible, you guys. And that was me exiting the game. It made a little ding.
Because initially it wasn't really a thing. Because like what you could do later, I guess if you had enough money for an MT32, is you'd have your MT32, your SC55 for the music, and then you'd have your Sound Blaster for the digital sound. So you'd actually go through and you'd set up your digital audio card and your music card or device.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to set them up separately, like in TIE Fighter and whatnot.
Yeah, but initially it was just, well, okay, you had an MT32. Okay, well, that's what you're going to run all your audio through. So yeah, they had to put in all these little, it wasn't just music, it was all these little UI interactions would have, sound effects through the MT32 as well.
I see that Wing Commander 2 also supported the MT32. Let me see if I have that set up. Let's click that shit and see what happens. I gotta tell you guys, GOG Galaxy is pretty nice. When it decides to work.
I've been enjoying it.
Oh yeah, it's great. It's really, it updates the games. It gives you shortcuts to like set up and everything. It's really just pretty good. Oh, I think it is going to use the MT32 because it's flashing. It's got a little MIDI message thing that says, "Hey, oh, there it goes."
Same engine thing. I always found the music in Wing Commander 2 is good, but it's less like memorable.
Yeah. It's faster too.
Wing Commander 2, better, faster, stronger.
Damn. Yeah, this isn't as
It's more
amazing.
ominous,
Yeah, but it doesn't even have that intro. It's just kind of like, oh, start a new game.
Yeah, and then you get into the intro, and Thrakath is going to start talking, or the Emperor.
Oh yeah, there it goes. Oh, listen to that. That's amazing, you guys. I haven't heard this. I haven't listened to Wing Commander 2 with the MT-32.
Oh, you know what else would be amazing with it too?
What's that?
Because it's from Sierra, right? And Sierra made this thing. What was that tank game? Stellar 7.
Oh, does that
And
work
there's
with
no
this thing?
9. I bet it
Yeah,
does.
that's one of like
It does.
Dynamics.
It does. It does. Yes.
Yeah, it's on the list.
It is on the list.
It's like an early Dynamics game. Yeah, it's Damon Sly, the guy that did Red Baron.
I like that game. That was a great game. Let's see. Let's look at some of the other. I turned push to talk off because it was just getting in the way of everything. Let's see. What haven't we mentioned? You mentioned at Apple II, Joe. Someone else, Scott, on Facebook, mentioned that his favorite piece of computing hardware was an Apple II with two 5 1/4-inch drives to play the Kobayashi alternative. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I played all those Star Trek text games. Those are amazing. And then let's see. Danielle from Facebook mentioned the Sumcom F-15 joysticks. Remember those? Those massively expensive sticks that everyone wanted.
Yeah, I always wanted the Thrustmaster F-16.
Oh, God, I know. But those are so expensive.
Oh yeah, they were like made of metal and like. Yeah, I always wanted like the whole thing. You know, like it had the throttle and the pedals, and that would have been wicked.
Oh, apparently in YouTube, getting back to MT-32 for a second, Rembrandt Einstein says that the Elite Plus is screwed up on its MT-32 support. Apparently it tries to play the sound effects, but those are only available on a different model called the CM32L. What?
Yeah, like if you go through the list, there's a whole bunch of like, so the MT-32 was kind of like the original, and like I said, it wasn't really intended for this, and then they kind of went through a whole bunch of different revisions, and there was like the LAPC-1, which was an MT-32 on a card that would just fit in a slot, so you didn't have to deal with, because to get this attached and actually running on an old computer was challenging, right? Because you had to get like before there was there was a Roland, it was an MPU 401. It was a MIDI interface. So it was like this ISA card that had a breakout box and that breakout box connected by an RS-232 that we were talking about before. And then you would plug your MIDI stuff into this breakout box. So it wasn't like super trivial.
Yeah, I remember those daughter cards. I didn't know they were meant to replace these standalone units.
There were some, and I think the CM32L that was external, but instead of being black, I think it was beige, and it didn't have the what's it called, the display, or it had a smaller display or something like that. So they started making this be more optimized for actually just for PC connectivity.
Oh yeah, I was looking for a CM32L. Yeah, it has no screen and just pretty much a knob.
Yeah, that's no fun.
Yeah, that's nowhere near interesting enough.
Because you can actually, like, there's buttons and stuff on the front of the MT-32, because you could program it. Like, you could program in different patch banks and all kinds of other stuff. That's why there's controls on it, because it's for making music.
Yeah, it's got all these little buttons and everything that I never touch.
And the same with the SC55 has even more buttons.
Oh, God, it does. It's got so many little buttons that I never touch. and an orange display rather than a green display. Yeah, so I guess I'll end on this question. What's since I've already mentioned the oldest piece of hardware I'm running, what is the oldest piece of hardware that either of you are running? Joe, we'll start with you. What's the oldest piece of hardware you're currently running?
I mean, it's got to be... Yeah, it's got to be the MT-32 as well. I mean, I've got some stuff in my gaming machine, but I've got a Riva, which isn't as old as the MT-32, so that's definitely it for me.
Jim?
Gosh, I don't know. I don't have anything like super old actually. I mean, it's like if I open the closet, there's some scary old stuff. But currently hooked up, Not really.
That's okay. I mean, if you're not going to be playing a lot of retro games like Joe and I, there's really no need to. You know.
No, not really. I mean, it's like I still have my CH Pro stick and throttle and pedals in the closet, but I traded up for that X56, which is definitely a good idea. Don't really so much like the software on it though. It's not as robust.
Yeah, Satex software has never been great.
Yeah, I wish somebody would actually make some third-party software and make it good.
I'd like to say it actually got worse once Mad Catz bought them.
I'd like to say everything gets worse when Mad Catz gets them.
You're probably not wrong. Well, let's start wrapping this up. Well, the last thing we'll talk about is like what are we playing currently? Like we try to end with that. I don't always remember to do that, but let's take a few minutes, talk about what we're playing right now. Joe, what are you playing? What's got your gaming attention right now?
So my gaming attention right now is split between two things. The first is for the show. I'm playing Star Trek: The Next Generation: A Final Unity.
Yeah, I am jealous of you, man. I haven't played that since it first came out, and now I need to put it on my list.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it's a little bit difficult to get running in DOSBox. There's some bugs.
Really?
But I got it all figured out. Yeah, there's well, first of all, usually you just dump something into DOSBox, you start it up and it runs fine, but you really have to jack up the cycles on this game to like 20,000. Because I think normally it starts at 3,000 and you can futz around from there. So yeah, it needs some juice. And and you were saying earlier, the DOSBox kind of defaults go to the Sound Blaster 16.
Yeah.
And there's actually I don't know if it's specific to DOSBox, but there's a Sound Blaster 16 bug in this game that basically will not let the game launch. So you have to kick it down to the original Sound Blaster.
What?
Yeah, it's weird. Like I was getting this weird error. Like the game would start and then it would just boot out with some kind of like could not initialize something or other. And I Googled it and a bunch of other people were having the same issues on the DOSBox forums and yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I got it running, so hey.
What's the other game you're playing?
I am sadly, maybe not sadly, but I'm hardcore back into World of Warcraft right now. Like the Legion expansion dropped, and it is the best the game has ever been.
If I wasn't a subscriber to Elder Scrolls Online, I might actually give it a try.
Yeah, I'm a Warcraft junkie though. That's my thing.
Yeah.
I like, as cheesy as it is, I like the lore.
No, I'm with you. I understand that. I'm.
Yeah, but the lore quit today.
Yes, that's true.
But I'm all about Tamriel. I've got actual printed books about from the game.
Yeah, and I've got a whole bunch of books about Azeroth. So
yeah,
I'm reading the Illidan book right now.
That's awesome. I love that they've realized that as geeks we want that sort of thing. So just please give it to us.
Well, I think did it start with the Mist books?
I don't know. I'm not even talking about crossover books. I'm talking about lore books like you were talking about. Which is, I wouldn't be surprised if it was Mist. Mist was
the Mist
so
ones,
big.
the Wing Commander novels that I just read all the way through a little while ago again.
I'm still working on the second one. I'm in the middle of the second one. And it's a hard read because that ship is going through some shit.
Oh, yeah.
And it's good.
Poor Tarawa.
Oh, my God. And I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, I got to put this down. Ow. They're stuck in an asteroid field right now. It's like, ooh, I don't want to see where this goes. I like these people.
Yep.
So, yeah. What about you, Jim?
What?
What are you playing right now?
I'm sorry. What am I playing? That's why I'm distracted.
Not right
actually,
now. But okay, what are you playing right now? I know
like
you're
literally
right
right now.
Literally right now.
I'm playing Ark, the dinosaur.
Did you get the expansion for that?
Yes, I did. That's what we're playing, and it's balls hard. Oh my God.
How do you feel about them releasing expansion for an early access product?
I think that this game is so finished that it's not really early access anymore. It's like it was. Well, I won't say it's beta, or I won't say it's alpha. I will say it's late beta, right? So there's still some things that are wonk. right? But if they were to the point where they were just putting in like, here's a bunch of new dinosaurs every week, right? What I wish that they had done in here, because they put wyverns, they put the sandworms from Dune kind of looking death worm things in here. They went with a lot of fantasy creatures, right? So I just wish that they had put some kind of mode where it's just like, hey, you know what? Just start the freaking game with like a sword and a shield, please. So I'm not instantly dead. But yeah, it's still like you wake up naked and you get a rock and a stick and start with that. But it's in the desert, so it's wicked hot, and the weather. They have a bug in the game right now that the weather just murders you anyway. Like if you're playing on the normal island, you freeze to death, or you'll go from like I'm dying from heat stroke to I'm freezing to death in like 2 minutes, right? So it's just like I wish they would take all that temperature bullshit out. Just So what I do, because I run my own server, and also the dinosaur taming times, that's set up. It's clearly they have in mind like, oh, there's going to be like a tribe of 10, 20 people, and they're going to cooperate to do. Well, no, it's just me and the wife, right? So I don't have 18 hours to sit here and train a freaking dinosaur. So I took that slider and slammed it all the way over to like 10x. So instead of like 18 hours, we get it in like an hour and a half or whatever, right? So not so bad. But yeah, the heat effects, I also turned that up so that you become resistant to it. It's still deadly as hell the first couple levels, but you get resistant to it quick. So that's the only way we're able to survive in this desert stuff, because it's like when the sun comes out midday, if you are not in the shade, you die. So that like priority one is build a floor, build a wall, put a roof on it. And then you have like a lean-to that you can hide under all day. Yeah. In fact, I'm in the midst of dying right now because I've been talking instead of hiding. So yeah.
Well, I guess for me, I actually was playing some SWAT 4 the other day.
SWAT 4.
SWAT 4. Yeah, I got it running. It runs pretty much right out of the box, which is nice. And I don't know. Every now and again, I feel like loading up SWAT 4 because it's still my favorite first-person tactical game.
I need to play it because I got so turned off by the original SWAT that I just gave up on the rest of them.
Oh, no. SWAT 3 and 4 are completely different from the first two games.
Yeah, so I played SWAT and SWAT 2, and I was like, these suck.
SWAT 3 and 4 is more like a Rainbow Six kind of experience.
But with like police procedures, so you can't just kill everyone. You actually have to try and handcuff people. It's great. And the perpetrators are randomly placed, and they also have random personalities. So you might do one playthrough of a level, and they might just come in guns blazing. You might do another play of a level, and the same dude might be like, okay, I'm sorry. And you just can cuff him and arrest him. It's great. And it's got one of the finest interfaces of any first-person game I've ever played. Like, I'm going to hover over that door. Breach it, dun, 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 just with the mouse. You can select multiple commands, and you can split your team into...
Yeah, I got to give it a go. I have to cover SWAT. I've done Police Quest on the show, but I've never covered SWAT.
The problem is you can't get 4 digitally. You used to be able to on direct-to-drive.
Yes, you can.
Not legally.
It's so, dude. What's his name? Blue Drake 22.
Yeah,
has it
I know,
on
but
his site. It's just like here it is, and it's all fixed.
That is clearly a moral gray area. Clearly morally gray, because it's you can buy SWAT 3 on GOG,
but not 4.
But 3 is pretty close to 4, so you could play 3 and definitely get a feel for what we're talking about, and it's amazing and worth it. So I've been playing some of that, and I gotta admit, I've also been playing Lord of the Rings Online.
Lotro.
They had a sale for their expansion packs the other day, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to buy them, but they look awesome, and I love Lord of the Rings. So I jumped back into the free version, and it's quaint. It's so old school, especially compared to ESO, which is much more active, and how you fight and everything. It's much more WoW. It's much more of the WoW school, the classic WoW school of MMOs.
Right. Because even WoW isn't the classic WoW school anymore.
It isn't. Is it more like? Is it a little more active now?
Oh yeah, like it's a totally different game.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of got me about WoW though, and why the vanilla WoW people still get traction, is because they basically anything that in any way inconveniences people, it's just streamline that out, right? So if you remember the old EverQuest days of, oh, I died, now I have to do a corpse run. Well, that doesn't happen. And then people complained about like the rest experience in the inns, right? And so they changed that. And so it's kind of getting to the point now, without mods even. It's like you log in and it's like, here's a big arrow, go talk to that guy, and then your next quest is over there, follow the arrow, and it's kind of like my dog could play it.
And in a way, it's nice. Like you kind of just sit down and you don't have to think too hard, but you're still doing things that feel relevant.
Well,
but if you're really trying to sit down for a deep, if you're trying to sit down for like a deep experience, then maybe not. But if you get into high end rating, then there still is that. So it's kind of one of those things that has something for everyone. So you can blast through the leveling stuff, and then just get to the rating and fiddle.
Or if you like spreadsheets, you could play Eve with Hunter.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of us are definitely going to be doing that once it goes free in November with the alpha clones.
I'm going to give it a whirl again. I have to fire up one of my 17 trial accounts.
It's very clever that they're doing that. I wonder how the other space MMOs are going to, especially like the smaller ones like Vendetta, how are they going to...
I'm sure you said the same thing. Eve is just one of those games that I want to like it so much. I feel like I should love it, and I just don't.
I can't. It's just too fiddly. Too many things to fiddle with. I just want to go in and fly a mission and shoot shit.
Dude, if it was like Rebel Galaxy,
I'd be all
MMO
over that
like
shit.
Eve, I would be on it, man. It would
I'd
just
be on that
like, this
game every
makes
night.
Total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd be on that shit every fucking day if it was like Rebel Galaxy, the MMO. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Give me that.
So what about Vendetta Online? We need to go back and revisit that because they keep beefing up the graphics and making things nicer. And
I actually canceled my account because I wasn't playing it. And I was finding it a little boring. Like I don't know what it is with Elite and with Jumpgate. I feel like when I'm flying around the universe, I feel connected to it. I feel like I'm in it. I'm a part of this. But with Vendetta Online, I don't. I feel like I'm in a game, which takes me out of it. It's weird. Yeah. It's really weird. Like it's not a bad game.
I just wish that Elite would get something. See, what it lacks is actually discovery, which is odd because the game is like, here's a billion star systems, right? And you can fly around and discover whatever. But it's just like, okay, they're all different and they're all the same. It's like snowflakes, right? They're all different, but you've seen a snowflake, you've seen them all. So it's just like, well, what am I doing? Because there's nothing actually new to discover there, right? It's not like, well, the one thing, right, where it's like, oh God, we found a Thargoid ship, right? Well, it's only taken 6 months to find the damn thing, and one guy found it, and then everybody else just goes and tags it, like, oh, saw it too. But I don't know, man, that it's missing the single player thing where I feel like I am the protagonist, where here I'm just like, I'm in the crowd and I'm lagging behind, I'm just like, I'm a straggler, just kind of bopping around. So I just don't feel like the universe knows I'm even there.
Yeah, you're such a tiny cog. Tiny cog. But it's like, it's weird with Elite. Like, I'll play for a few hours. It's like, yeah, that was fun. And then I won't play for days or weeks because it's like, is there something else to do than what I was just doing? Not really. Not right now.
My problem with Elite is if I do that, I forget how to play. I just forget all my buttons. And then I'm like, oh, God, I can't handle this anymore.
That is not unfair because there are a lot of goddamn... That's one thing I find Voice Attack helps a lot with, is that you don't need to remember everything. You just be like, lower landing gear.
I got to set that up again because then I forgot like half the things that I set up to say.
Oh no, just buy one of the voice packs. Buy the one with buy the one with Brian Blessed.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with fucking Brian Blessed. I just hope they give us David Warner at one point.
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh my god.
The one I
Warner
want is
evil.
Neil Tyson. When you fly. No, seriously, man. It's like, you know, give me places like waypoints to fly to. And when I get there, then Neil narrates like, well, what you're looking at here is this kind of planet, you know, and that kind of thing.
That might
Teach
make
some science.
sense. That might make sense once they implement the passenger stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to have you do tours and shit. So that would make sense to have like a tour guide. And that'd be great if it was, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson. Either him or Terry Crews. That's who I would want as my tour guide.
Space
Terry wants to skim
linebacker,
some
Terry
hydrogen.
Crews.
Terry Crews as President Camacho narrating.
I love Terry Crews.
I do too. Hey, have you seen Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Oh yes.
Oh
Love
God.
it.
Him and Andre Brower are fucking worth their weight in gold, in my opinion.
Oh yes.
The two of them, just, oh my God.
And I also want Terry Crews's gaming machine with the
Oh my God.
1080s, with the
Folks.
1080s and SLI.
Oh my God, folks. Yeah, Terry Crews is, I don't know if he's a new PC gaming enthusiast, but he
says he is.
He recently released some videos with his son where they built a computer together.
That man
And
is all in.
It's impressive how yes, he is, but it's also fucking adorable. It's so.
Oh, it's great. I love his
so
his
great.
videos and
Yeah, he's great. He's so.
I want that
It's like
monitor
he just
too. He's got that
discovered what we've known all along, you know?
What's that?
So it's like, welcome to the club, Terry. You're now one of us. we aspired to be like you, but suddenly you're like me, and maybe that's better.
and that's
I
okay.
couldn't meet you on your playing field, but you met me on mine.
No. Wasn't he also the office linebacker in those commercials
Yes.
back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh, I love those so much. Those are the best. All right, let's start wrapping this up. Joe, where can folks find you and your podcast?
So you can find the Upper Memory Block podcast at umbcast.com and, you know, all those other places. Search for Upper Memory Block podcast on Facebook and UMB Show on Twitter. And I put up a Final Unity video, a little bit about an hour of that play, hoping to get another part up before I put up the show on the YouTube channel, Upper Memory Block. Just search for that and you'll find it all. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do after Final Unity, but yeah, we'll see. 90 some odd episodes to check out.
Aren't you gonna have a baby?
Yeah, at the end of October. Hopefully, I'm trying to figure out. I have a couple of listeners that have provided me with some of their own shows. I asked people to do a show about a game that they like.
So why don't you raise your kid as if it was the 70s again, right? And just kind of time warp them. Like the first year of their life, they see nothing but like afros, bell bottoms, Soul Train on TV, and then you give them an Atari 2600 when they turn 2, and
That'll be perfect.
you just speed run them up through the 80s.
I know someone who did that, actually. They started them off with like a Pong machine when they were like 4. And
Yeah,
then
did they raise them
Atari.
like in a bomb shelter, and then when they got out,
See,
they
that's
still
the
thought it
thing.
was the
No,
50s?
they didn't. They gave them a new machine like every 6 months.
Oh,
So it's
what,
just like
what was
yeah,
that
the
movie?
speed run,
That there was a movie where
like the Truman Show or something.
no, it was these people like in the 60s. They went down in a bomb shelter, and then or in the 50s rather, and then they came out, you know, and it was like modern day.
Blast
but
from
they
the
were
Past?
still in the 50s. Yeah.
Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser and Christopher
Yes,
Walken.
that's it.
Great movie. But I'm biased. I love Christopher Walken in just about anything.
Yep.
Even Privateer 2.
Well, that's the thing about Privateer 2. It has such an amazing cast.
Yeah.
Amazing cast. I mean, not only Walken, you got John Hurt, Jurgen Prochnow, fucking, oh God, Clive Owen, yeah, fucking everyone's in that movie. A movie, yeah.
It should have just been, well, it wasn't even a very good movie.
No, it wasn't. If you folks, you can go watch Privateer 2 as a movie on YouTube. It's like 2 hours long, and it's terrible because the story is fucking ridiculous.
Well, you know,
Anyway.
yeah, just go on YouTube and just watch the story. You don't even need to play the game.
Don't play the game. Don't play
Well,
the game.
the game is not
it's
worth
the
anything.
worst. The worst. Oh my god. Part of me wants
And if you want to see the gameplay, just go watch Brian playing it because it's hilarious.
Yeah, but you can't watch me play it drunk because I hid that video. I blacked out, man. I blacked out playing that.
Well, I guess count yourself lucky.
So much tequila. Yeah, I don't remember it. It was great. That's the way you should play Privateer 2.
Best Privateer 2 session ever.
That's right. So, folks, next week on the show, we are going to talk. We're going to kind of keep with the classic theme. We're going to bring on Trevor Sorensen. He created the Starfleet games from the mid and late 80s. You might remember Starfleet 1. Starfleet 1, The Battle Begins, I think it was called. And then Starfleet 2, Corellian Commander, which was like super ambitious for its day, like with planetary invasions and stuff. Those games are crazy and they're awesome. And we're going to be talking to him next week. This week on Thursday, for our Thursday night gaming, we're going to take a break from space gaming because our good friend Spasticus specifically requested we play How to Survive 2. And, you know, he's a good guy. He's with us in almost all our streams. So I couldn't say no. So that's what we're going to play on Thursday. And I apologize that last week's podcast has not been put up yet. I've been so freaking busy with 2 parties and lots of work and stuff that, yeah, no time. But I'll get that up probably around the same time this one goes up. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Joe, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
It's always a pleasure to be on.
And we'll have to think of another excuse to bring you back. We'll have another show about TIE Fighter. I'll finally pass that one goddamn mission. And then we'll talk about TIE Fighter again. Just one show about TIE Fighter. Actually, we should do a show about the X-Wing series.
Just in general, yeah.
Just the series.
But we have to have Hunter on so we can talk about Ace.
Yeah. How do you feel about that, Jim, if we did a show about the X-Wing, just the X-Wing series?
Great news, Ace. Sure.
I gotta play that game again because I remember enjoying it, but I haven't played it since it first came out.
I enjoyed it once you got to the Rebel stuff, but the family stuff, oh, I wanted to kill myself.
Yeah.
Oh my!
I remember it being very pretty
for its day. That's not inaccurate for its day. Anyway, so folks, thank you so much for listening and watching. Remember to visit me on SpaceGameJunkie.com, Twitter.com/SpaceGameJunkie, and don't forget to check out the Patreon, Patreon.com/SpaceGameJunkie. A little bit more money, and I will start broadcasting my goddamn face out there with cameras and everything. So just
I donate you.
How much do we have to pay against that? So can it be like one camp is trying to buy you on and one camp is trying to
It's a
keep you
bidding
off,
war
and
for
then-
my face.
Yeah, so it's just like it's a fight of dollars, right? And just watch it climb higher and higher.
Just be an auction. Just make it an auction for hours.
Sweet.
Well, folks, thank you so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time. Good night.
Bye.